Hello everyone. My name is Carrie. In my last video we looked at the Pleiadian perspective. This part 2, are the questions people asked during this recorded lecture. I have listed the questions, as best as I could hear them, in the comments below, with some extra information on some. Asking questions is important, this gives other beings permission to answer. Asking questions is crucial, to beings that insist upon not interfering in our free will. So let's listen to people's questions, and the ninth dimensional Pleiadian perspective.
All of us in the other realms, we don't want to interfere with that. So when you ask questions, that's when we get the green light to help you in every way that we can. So asking is very, very important, and not just because of the free will, but the process, the mental process that you go through in asking for information, of asking for answers, gets you thinking, it gets your energy flowing, it gets your energy moving. So as you go here, the things that you're curious about, start asking about them. If it crosses your mind more than once, then, put it out there. Ask your guides for answers, for clarification. And for those of you who are healers, for those of you who are teachers, for those of you who know that's what you're supposed to be doing but don't know what you're supposed to be healing or teaching, the things that you're curious about, those are the things that you're going to be teaching. Because if you weren't interested and you didn't have a curiosity yourself, well then why would you want to spend hours talking about it or teaching others about it? But you think, well, it's just me, it's what I want to know, it's not very special. Well, yes, it is. It's very unique. Your perception and what you bring to the table as the energy comes through you, it's very, very special. It's unique. So the one thing we do want to throw out here for you all to understand is that you've got free will down here, and all of us in the other realms, we don't want to interfere with that. So when you ask questions, that's when we get the green light to help you in every way that we can. So asking is very, very important, and not just because of the free will, but the process, the mental process that you go through in asking for information, of asking for answers, gets you thinking, it gets your energy flowing, it gets your energy moving. So as you go here, the things that you're curious about, start asking about them. If it crosses your mind more than once, then, put it out there. Ask your guides for answers, for clarification. And for those of you who are healers, for those of you who are teachers, for those of you who know that's what you're supposed to be doing but don't know what you're supposed to be healing or teaching, the things that you're curious about, those are the things that you're going to be teaching. Because if you weren't interested and you didn't have a curiosity yourself, well then why would you want to spend hours talking about it or teaching others about it? But you think, well, it's just me, it's what I want to know, it's not very special. Well, yes, it is. It's very unique. Your perception and what you bring to the table as the energy comes through you, it's very, very special. It's unique. So don't discount it. Follow your curiosity. So if any of you are blocked, and we see a number of you in here are, that you're wondering, what am I supposed to be doing? Well, what are you curious about? Your curiosity will lead you to where you need to go. All right? So enough said on that. So don't be shy here. Go ahead and we're going to ask for questions, and just go ahead and throw it out there. All right. So what would you all like to know about? What can we answer for you today?
I would like to ask, what is the mystery of the crop circles, and what is being shared in all the images in the crop circles? What are we supposed to gather from this information? Who is trying to communicate with us?
Oh, a lot of ground to cover with that one. All right, so the other thing we ask is that you just speak up so everyone can hear the question. So just to reiterate, what's the deal with the crop circles? Who's making them, and what are they about? There are a number of different frequencies that are generating the crop circles. Some of them are coming from Mother Earth herself. Others are being generated by you, all right, that you are as a collective holding now resonances, and that is coming up and being manifested in a physical way. Remember, it's all energetic and it's being projected in a physical way. They're codings for you to activate your DNA. They're reminders for you to activate your DNA. When you look at them, how do you feel? How most of you feel activated. You feel altered. You feel curious. There are other ones that are being activated by the sun. The sun is sending signals, sending frequencies. The sun is the metronome for this solar system. It keeps time. It keeps everything moving, showing you, giving you information that it's time to move forward with this assignment, with this activity. It's keeping you on track. The sun is also a library. So it holds all of the records of all of the emotional experiences of all the beings in the solar system. All right? The planet is a library. It holds all of the experiences of all of the beings on the planet. And we're not talking just about human beings, we're also talking about all the other organisms that are having experiences. And those experiences of those single-cell organisms are being recorded and put into Earth's library. They have consciousness. They have sentience. We see all the wheels spinning. So there are a number of factors that are creating these, and also there is some intergalactic assistance as well. We are getting some help from some celestial friends. They're not so much putting the records down and manifesting them, but they're helping you to remember, and that's triggering you to put it out, put that signal out, and it was a clue, a remembrance for you to connect to the planet, for you to connect to yourselves. So
there's no specific message. We're just supposed to look at it and scratch our head and just say,
you're getting activated on a cellular level. Well, you don't have to scratch your head. You can tune into yourself. And what is this activating in me? What is this encoded? Because each one holds a different message. There may be some that you just aren't attracted to. It may be that you've already activated that portion of your DNA. But it's all about activation and remembrance. Remembering of your place in the solar system. All right? When you look at some of those crop circles, you see a reflection of that. To see that you are connected to all of that. Some of the ones that are coming up now are getting more and more complex to show you the complexities that lie within you. There's a lot of geometrical patterning in there. Each geometrical pattern activates you in a different way. It's an encoding. We're not certain we can give you exactly the answer that you're looking for, because there isn't a nice pat answer for that. And that's why, in part, none of you are getting an answer about what they really are or who they're coming from, because they're coming from a variety of sources. All right, but it is activating and encoding. Your encoding. You knew that there would be a time that you would need information to come through specifically from the planet, and when she hits those resonances, when she reaches those levels, that's when those crop circles are being manifest. All right, as she reaches those levels, guess what? You get activated so that you also reach those levels. All right, you both are one and the same. Your collective consciousness creates the planet. All right, all of you, your belief that she exists and what she is, create her. You make her solid. You make her real. And you will never have a healthy planet until you all start seeing yourselves as healthy, because she is a reflection of you. You can do things in the physical realm, but unless you start dealing with all of your emotional dramas and traumas, she will never be healed and whole, because you're not healed and whole. All right? So did we answer your question?
no.
I think he just wants to know what the heck they mean. And
Each one's different. So
is there a reason why they're doing it, though? Are they trying to tell us something? Are they trying to implant an energetic substance into the ground? Are they trying to...
No, nothing's being planted into the ground. It's a frequency that's there. All right? And so there's a frequency that's present energetically in the energetic template, and then once that frequency is there, just like when the frequency is within your own energetic field and you create an event in your physical reality, well, the earth creates an event for herself as well, and that's a crop circle. Now, where does that source of that frequency come from? It comes from a variety of sources. It can come from you as a collective, of your consciousness level, that it's time to remember a particular event, and so she manifests this. You all manifest this for yourselves, and you create that physical representation of that energy. Sometimes it comes from the coding in the sun, which will raise her own frequency, which then she then projects another symbol for you. All right. Sometimes ETs will work with you as a collective, as groups, to get your particular frequency at a level which then is then in the energetic, and then it gets created in Mother Earth, in the physical. All right. So there are a variety of sources for these energies. It's not just one, but you are using, others are using that as a trigger mechanism for you. All right, so that you can remember your connectedness to all that gets your mind wandering. Again, remember we said your curiosity is going to lead you where you need to go. This is a big curiosity for you all. All right, for you to go back into your records, to look through your history. When you start looking through your history, you'll start to find that there were crop circles before. You're finding them in stone. All right, they're far more complex today because the frequencies are higher and they're different. But it also connects you back to the planet. All right? So does that help at all?
Yeah, I understood that.
All right, which, it's not cut and dry. We wish it were a simple answer for you, but there's a variety, and that's why you're not hearing one person with a singular answer about what it is, because it's a variety of things. But in the simplest terms, it's a frequency which is in the Earth's template, which can come from a variety of places, and then it's being manifested through her physical body. All right? So what else? Is there anything that we were talking about earlier that you all want to expand upon, or you need clarification?
Yeah, I have a lot of déjà vu experiences for years, and I never knew why or what. It's like I've already lived this or seen this, or even people I meet new, but I thought, I know them, I totally know them, and I don't know why this is happening to me. I cannot explain it.
Well, it's as we were saying before, it's that connection with another timeline. When you meet other people and you have that instant recognition, there is another aspect of yourself which is having that experience with them, which you are tapping into. You're tapping into that other timeline, that other probability, because all those are going on at the same time. When it's in your day-to-day life, and you're doing an event like folding your clothes, and you feel like I've been in this space and I folded my clothes before here, it's that sense that you've shifted your energy somehow. It's slightly different. And you put yourself on another timeline.
In movies, you say, I've seen this, or a book, or I've read this, but I haven't. It's supposed to be new,
Yes. Well, in a sense, nothing's ever really new, is it? It's just a matter of where are you looking at it from. All right? There's part of you that's already off in the future having that event where you've been there, done that. And then there's another aspect of you where your focus is on this now, and you're just coming up to that future where you've already done it. So it's all about perspective. And take a deep breath, all of you. All right? It's a lot for you all to process through your mind. All right? Because you think that there is the past, the present, and the future. So just let that all sit in the heart center and see how it feels. Trying to think if we can put this another way for you that can help to put you a bit at ease. There's nothing wrong when you experience deja vu, but be mindful about what you were just experiencing. What emotion was being activated? Did you just shift something energetically, emotionally? Did you change a belief about something? And what you're going to find is a lot of that time you will have just had a change in your beliefs. You will have changed your perspective, and that change in perspective shifts you someplace else to another timeline. So that's how it can be useful to you, how you can utilize it as a tool. Just an acknowledgement that you had a shift in consciousness. Because that's all it really is. You're constantly moving back and forth between these timelines. It's just usually pretty seamless, and you're not aware of it. Because the illusion is that you've got linear time. You're only on one timeline. And it's an amazing experience in and of itself. Don't get us wrong. The third dimension is a very special and unique place. It's unlike any other dimension because of the fact that you only see one version of reality. That lightens the load considerably. All right? It also can make it far more challenging because you don't know what's coming up over the next hill. But that's part of the thrill of the ride because you don't know when the next dip or turn is going to come. And, when you're down here in this game, you think, well, it's not very exciting. It's a bit scary. But, as soon as you go through the ride once and you get off, you think, I want to go back. That was pretty exciting. It was very exhilarating, and so you incarnate again. All right?
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I have a question that's similar to that. We were told the other day that each of our selfhood is on different dimensions all at once, and that maybe only 1 or 2% of our real selfhood is here, and the rest of it exists on other levels.
Yes.
That's confusing. Can you?
Think of it this way, like a branch of a tree, all right, but upside down because you think hierarchically, all right? So the branch here, the trunk, is source energy, and then you fracture off from that, all right? So there are branches that are hanging out a little closer to the trunk, all right? And then those split off and hang a little further down, and then eventually you get to the bottom of the tree, or the top of the tree, and that's you down here on the third dimension. So there are parts of you that are all over the place, all right? And your oversoul is a little closer to the branch, or to the trunk, all right? And it is the part of you that kind of oversees, what's happening in all these other aspects of what you decide you want to try out in each lifetime. The one who says, all right, well, there's part of me off learning about that, but I'd also like to try this, that, and the other. So you send parts of yourself off to do all of those. And they can go to all different dimensions. All right? You don't have to incarnate starting at dimension 1 and work your way up. It doesn't work that way because you're already source energy. You're already divinity. All right? So you go wherever you want. Usually you'll start with something that's not terribly complex just so you can refine your skills. But you're not required to. You can go to any dimension you want. You can figure it out as you go. All right? You have access to records, so you can go access the records of other beings who've gone through the process, all right, who've started at level 1. Perhaps you didn't want to start there. Perhaps you wanted to go straight to 9. So you access records on how it was all done so that you've got a history and a knowledge and the workings. So you can go straight to that dimension. You're not required to have first-hand experience. That's something else that happens for all of you. When you want to talk about past lives, before you incarnate, you've got all the records of all your lifetimes, but also you have overlays or imprints of other lifetimes that were not your own, that you did not have first-hand experience of. So you overlay them with your own, so you have a point of reference. Perhaps you wanted to learn about mastering being a leader. So you took the experience of a leader, whether it was Cleopatra or Napoleon, all right, and you overlaid it with your own experience, so you had a point of reference. Perhaps you didn't have time to go through all those lifetimes, or you just plain weren't interested. And your perception here from this level is that it's exactly the same as your own lifetime. You wouldn't know that it wasn't a past life for you. That's why you have so many people saying, I was this person or that person. And usually it's a famous person. Because they're imprinted. And they don't feel any different to you than another past life. From our perspective, we can see a difference energetically, but for all intents and purposes, they're the same. That you have the same kind of emotional resonance with it as you do with another life that is your own. You'll hear them referred to as imprints or overlays. But we've gone off on another tangent. So back to the tree and the branches. You can go wherever you want, and they're just experiences. Each dimension is a realm of different games. There are different rules that apply to the games. It's like going to play basketball or soccer. They're different. But one's not better than another. Higher isn't better. We cannot stress this enough to you. You are not at the bottom, all right? You are the masters down here on this planet. You are the ones who have all the answers. You're having the experience that you're going to be teaching the rest of us. All right? You're going to teach us how to operate, how to integrate duality. We still have duality in the higher realms, but it's not the extreme that you have down here in the third dimension. All right? You've got black and white. In the higher realms, we've got light gray and medium light gray. Those are all extremes of duality. But you're showing us how to find unconditional love, how to find non-judgment for these extremes. So you've got a lot of information that you're sharing with us on how it's done. Higher dimensions just hold a different perspective. That's it. Not better, just different. And you can access any dimension you want. You hold within yourself 12 dimensions of consciousness at any time throughout the day. You can choose which one you want to perceive your reality through. All right? When you have that expanded sense of self, that knowing, that clear cognizance, where there's no doubt and everything is completely clear, you are usually vibrating either connected with Source or within a 12th dimensional level. One or the other. All right? When we think of dimensional ranges, we see 12 dimensions. When you combine all of them together, that is the 13th, and that is source energy. All right, is the connectedness. It is all. You'll hear lots of different dimensional ranges, by the way. There are lots of ways to break it down. There are octaves within dimensions, like music. Some people will describe those as an entire dimension, because each one has subsets and rules, sub-rules. So you'll hear a lot of different numbers for dimensions, and even that is a new perspective which creates a different kind of game in and of itself. But you can go wherever you want to go to have whatever kind of experience that you want to have. And as this conscious being, you can access all 12 dimensions within this vehicle. When you have that sense of clarity, you're connecting to that higher level of consciousness. Usually when you're going throughout the day, doing your mundane things, you're holding a lower vibration. What happens, and this is how you go through the process of ascension, is that you start to hold a higher level of consciousness for prolonged periods of time. And when you hold that higher level of consciousness in your body, you're vibrating at that rate, your body begins to alter. Your body begins to match that frequency, because your physical world is a projection of your energetic state. This is how you're all transforming your body, because you're taking a different version of your body with you into the higher realms. You're creating a brand new physical vehicle for yourself. You have a crystalline matrix, another level or shell to your energetic body that you are activating. It is the new energetic template for your 4th dimensional version, your 5th dimensional version, and even your 6th dimensional version of your vehicle. The one you're operating with now goes 3 through 6. The new one that you're going to activate goes 4 through 6. All right. The shell, a layer, is the energetic template for the new physical body. You're reactivating new areas of it. It's like the proverbial switchboard operator's plugs that she's pulling in and out as she connects the phone calls. And so it is with you when you connect to issues. You are unplugging from old mass consciousness and plugging into the higher version. When you plug into that higher version, you activate that part of the template that creates a new version of your physical body. All right, so your body is changing, your chemistry is changing. All right, and your physicians, your biologists are seeing a change in your physical vehicle. It is altering itself to match this new field which you are activating.
Is this automatically happening? Do we have to change our diet to be vegetarians or raw food? Or because I like to eat sweets a lot and coffee. And
it's about you being happy, all right? Yes. It's about you being happy and how your belief system creates that vibration for you. It's going to be different for each person. And it really depends on your belief system. So if
Well,
you...
I believe that I can eat anything I want to. And,
You can.
And not change my bodily outlook, because I've already programmed my mind to say that I'm happy, healthy, and wealthy, and wise, and, you know, I'll always be that way until... You know.
And it's different for each person through each phase of their growth. There will be times if you like to eat meat that you're going to be repulsed by it because your body doesn't want that frequency in it. Because, yes, it does have a lower frequency to it, but there are times that there are chemicals, vitamins, minerals, enzymes that are in different food groups that your body requires to go through this transition. So if you're someone who is completely vegetarian, you may find that there are times where your body really wants to have meat, and we encourage you to eat it. There's nothing better about being vegetarian on a soul level, on a moral level. All right? We don't subscribe to that belief system. It is just a way of consuming. If you're not putting heavier elements in, then your body's not having to process heavier elements out. It's just about your energy levels, your overall energy levels. If you have a belief system in place that says, if I have that cookie, it's going to lower my frequency. It's bad, it's bad, it's bad. But I really want it, and now I'm depriving myself. So you set up a pattern of deprivation. So overall, energetically, that pattern of deprivation lowers the frequency more so than if you were just to eat the cookie and process the sugar out of your body. So a lot of it, what you should be eating, all depends on your belief systems. There are beings on this planet who do not eat food. You're breatharians, and they're fine with that because their belief systems are in alignment with that. Doesn't mean they're better. They're not higher beings because of it. They're not better beings because of it. They're just in a different space energetically with their belief systems of what's possible with physical matter. Doesn't mean it's better. It's just a different space than where you're vibrating right now. All right?
So what about people that are like overweight? Are they going to be able to change into the light bodies, or everybody's going to be homo luminous like you said before?
Well, when you're holding weight, it's usually because there is a fear involved there, or you've instructed your cells to hold on to something, all right? And so it's a process of letting go, and then the physical body, as you let go of it energetically, the physical body will match it and let go of the excess weight. So it's not always about what's in your diet, but if you're eating an excess of food, you're an overeater, why are you overeating? So when you deal with the emotional issue of it, you're not going to have the physical desire anymore. You're not going to, rush to overeat. Or if you're eating really unhealthy foods, what happens if it's no longer a vibrational match for your belief system and where you are? You eat it and you feel bad physically. You don't feel energized. And so you think, all right, well, I don't really care to have that anymore. It's not a judgment call. It just isn't uplifting for you. If you want to have it, have it. We don't have any problem with that. If you want to have a glass of wine, have wine. You process it out. But eventually, as you raise your frequency, it's just not going to be desired. It's not that it's wrong or you think that it's bad. You just aren't desiring it. And you'll all go through phases. All of you. So don't feel like, all right, well, I've hit this plateau and I'm going to stick here and I'm going to do this. And then when you fall off, you all judge yourselves. You think, well, I couldn't maintain it. Well, what made you think you were supposed to maintain it in the first place? There's a question for you. All right? So it's just a process. Just check in with yourself. How does it make your body feel? If it doesn't make your body feel fabulous, then probably not something that you want to continue putting in. All right? Does that make sense to everybody? Because you hear so many conflicting things about diet. But, what you put in your body usually is not as important as how you're feeling about what you're putting into your body. Because, it all starts with the energetic template. It's far more powerful, it's far more potent. It has a greater impact on you energetically than anything you put into your body. Because you can transmute all that. You can easily process it. All right?
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Since about 1990 or so, I've been hearing a very high-pitched tone, and I've been told that it's a download and that it's from the Pleiadians. And I know it's not physical like tinnitus because animals, when they're around me, hear it too. And I wanted to confirm whether it is Pleiadian and if it's a download of, for a better term, software. When am I going to get to use it?
Yes.
Time is marching on.
You're already using it, let us say that, all right?
Subconscious.
Yes, but it's also, you're not going to hear the ringing in the same way. You're going to get clarity the more you work with it. So it'll be more identifiable as the download stream comes in for you. Sometimes it's Pleiadian, sometimes it's the angelic realms working with you. It's your own guides, your own personal guides working with you. Pleiadian and also the Arcturans are present. All right? Beings from the Arcturan star system. And they are masters at working with tone and sound. So again, we want to answer your question, but we also want you to let your curiosity lead you to the answer, because that's part of the process. How you go about taking that download, how you expand and open that packet to your conscious mind, that's part of what your contribution is, and you're going to be teaching others and explaining to others what that feels like. You all get information, all right? But you don't talk to each other about it, about these sensations and these strange things that you get, because you think that, oh, my friends are going to look at me like I've lost my mind. But if you all start talking about it and sharing stories, what you'll find is that you all have a lot in common, all right? And it's not as strange as you think it might be. It's very, very common. The information that you're getting, part of it is history. You're getting a lot of historical download for you to remember Earth history and galactic history. And that's what you're getting from the Pleiades. All right? The Arcturans are working with you on how to be a mediator. Right? Reminding you that you are a mediator. So all of you, when you get that sensation that there's information that's trying to get through to you, put yourself in that heart-centered position, all right? That feel-good place. If you're hearing that sound coming in, put yourself in that center, and it'll help to expand it and to clarify the signal a bit. All right?
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Ms. P. I have a couple questions here. One is, how can we better use discernment in our everyday choices in life to make decisions that are more in line with what we envision life should be for us? And the next question is, you said here earlier, we're not talking about logic, but about emotions. And so that made me think, gosh, are emotions even logical? Do they even have a spark of logic in them? So if you could talk more about that possibly too.
Well, they may have a spark, but if you don't have a reference point for an experience, if you're talking about past lives, or and usually your history, your soul history, if you don't have that memory of it, then no, it's not going to make logical sense to you. When you remember your soul history or why you made that choice, then it's logical. When you see that emotion, to say, I found myself getting upset because when I was 3 years old, I wanted to play and no one will play with me. And I feel that same situation is here. I've asked someone to engage in activity with me and they said no. All right, but most of you don't go through that process. You don't have a logical point of reference. But when you see, I created that so that I can let that go, to see that I can bring someone in who's a vibrational match, or I don't have to hold on to that sense of rejection that I had when I was that age. I can let it go. Then it makes logical sense to the mind. But you've got to go through the heart filter to get there. You've got to see where that belief started. Does that help? Does that make sense then, when you're talking about emotions?
Well, in trying to understand better ways to let go of emotions that don't serve us.
A lot of it's shifting that perspective to see why I created it in the first place. Why did I choose that? And allow your subconscious to fill in the blank there. My most negative thought about this experience is, so let's say you've created a drama with your friend. You've had an argument and you don't know what it was really about. So my most negative thought about my interaction is, and then fill in the blank. I'm not good enough. I'm not deserving. I'm a fraud. Whatever it is. As we said, at first you're going to get, I don't know. Keep going. Repeat it out loud. Because when you verbalize it, you get it out of the physical body. You get out of your own way. It's not a mental process any longer. And the physical body also wants to get it out. All right? So my most negative thought is fill in the blank. I don't know. All right? My most negative thought about this is, I don't know. My most negative thought about this is, all right. Well, I'm a fraud. And that's your place to start. All right, so even that recognition of what that belief system is usually enough so that you can shift it. Because when you see that that's your belief, you say, all right, well, I see how I look like a fraud in that situation, so now I can let it go. All right, that's what the conflict was all about. That's the whole point of creating that. All right, well, now I know I have the belief that I'm a fraud, and I know where to look at clearing that. So I am an authentic being of light. There's your affirmation. And you start working to replace that program with a new one. You're overriding it. And when you do affirmations, it's not what you're thinking, but what you're feeling when you have that thought. Because at first, when you start thinking, I'm authentic, if you also have that program, I'm a fraud, usually the lower one's going to win out because it's more familiar to you. All right? So you keep holding that feeling of what it would feel like to feel authentic. How good would that really feel? I may not be it now, but it would probably feel really good, and you can put yourself there energetically. All right? And when you match it energetically, your physical world starts to reflect it. So it's a process of getting you there. All right? But if you identify the belief, then you know where to start and what programs to rewrite. As far as being discerning, it's all about how you're feeling and where you're vibrating. And checking in with yourself. Getting yourself, again, we're going to go back to this expanded state, this heart space. And then check in. How do I really feel about this event? Get yourself to that feel-good place first, and then check in. How do I feel about this? And then how does it feel in your body? Do you feel lighthearted? Do you feel warm? Do you feel so-so? Or do you feel horrible? If you feel horrible, probably not the choice you want to make. All right? If you feel so-so, perhaps. And then just keep checking in with yourself. If I feel so-so, is there a fear that's getting activated? Am I afraid of something? You all know when you feel fear. There's not one of you in this room who can't pinpoint fear. And you know the difference between fear getting activated or just not being interested. There's a big difference in that frequency. If you're just apathetic or whether you're fearful. And if you check in with yourself, how do I really feel? You're going to know the difference, and you can tell yourself. If you're apathetic, then it's just not a vibrational choice, it's a match. If it's fear, it gets you back to that program. And that's the whole point of you being able to make a choice anyway. And having to question that choice is because you want to kind of reassess where your vibrational state is anyway. That's why you get forks in the road, so that you can look internally. If a choice doesn't make you feel good or isn't exciting, then look for another choice, look for another option, or change your perspective. Sometimes it's just a matter of changing your perspective. That's why you created the situation in the first place, to get you to a new perspective. All right? Does that make sense to everyone? Mm-hmm. So if a choice doesn't feel good, why doesn't it feel good? Oh, because I've got this fear there. All right, well, I shifted my perspective by knowing I have a fear. So it changed the whole dynamic of the situation. And now I can look at it. All right, well, when you look at the fear and you remove that from the situation, that changes the perspective, and now you can look at that choice again and ask yourself, how do I feel about this choice again? All right, and you'll get a different answer. Does that help?
Yes, thank you so much.
All right.
What's the best way to remove the fear?
Well, there are a lot of modalities that work with your belief systems. There are a lot of processes that you can use. We're very fond of breath work because The breath moves everything at the energetic level, and it also moves it at the physical. It's the, like blowing on a fire. It stokes your internal fire and moves everything energetically. So the best way, you can work with yourself. You don't ever have to work with another healer, but you're the one who always does the work. A healer just holds space for you. That's all they ever do. They never fix it for you. You're always the one who does the work. So you can do that on your own, or you can ask someone else to hold the space. All right? And then you do the work. So the process that we just gave you, allowing the subconscious, is one way to work on your own. But as we say, there are lots of ways to get there with the belief systems, and then you can just replace those beliefs with affirmations. Affirmations, again, it's not what you're thinking, but what you're feeling. It all goes back to the feeling. And you're changing the vibrational body. Your emotions on that are right now the vehicle that are creating attractions. And that's how reality is manifest. You're activating this new shell, this new layer, this new energetic body. And how it manifests in the higher realms is not through attraction, it's through creation. You just create it. There is no waiting for something to be attracted to you. You just generate it. So you're shifting which vehicles, which layers that you're activating as you're manifesting. That's why, especially when you're very clear about what you want, you're vibrating at a very high rate, it comes very, very quickly. And oftentimes, as you go here, as you're moving forward, you're going to start manifesting from that new level, from that new layer. Because you're going to walk between the two worlds. Some of you are already vibrating in the fourth dimension, and then you come back down to playing the third. All right? And you're the bridges for those who are sleeping, who have chosen not to wake up just yet, who don't understand that they are creator beings. So that when they finally do wake up, you're going to be there to be able to explain what it feels like to go through this transition, so that they have something, a point of reference. And they have tools in place, ways that work, that you can show them, that you can demonstrate, and then they can walk down that path and over the bridge. And some, they'll never wake up because they're just not interested. That wasn't their game plan. Not everybody has to come along for the ride, nor do they want to. That's important for you all to know as well.
So why are they here then?
To have this third dimensional experience, so that they can take the knowledge and wisdom gained and apply it to different systems as they incarnate, or other aspects of themselves that are going through this experience, this third dimensional experience, and need another point of reference as well. Remember, Earth is the grand experiment. There is a lot of genetic material from a lot of different places on this planet. And there are aspects of you in these different systems from which this genetic material came from. And in some systems, it's not working out so well. You have a limited range of emotional experience that you work with in these different systems that have been introduced into these systems. And so when you try to find how to integrate duality in these systems, you're not able to, because you can't see a way outside the box. All right? It's like there's no fresh perspective coming in. On this planet with so much genetic material and so many emotional backgrounds to pull from, experience, it makes it a lot easier to find something that has a new perspective to it. It also makes it a lot more challenging because you've got to deal with all of these extra emotions. But it's also a lot richer resource to pull from. So as you are figuring out how to deal with this integration, you share that information with that other aspect of yourself, which is on that planet that blew up another planet because they couldn't work out the differences. And they played that scenario out over and over and over again. All right? And they couldn't get it. And now, because of the connection that they have with you, you're giving them the information of how now to integrate duality, and they can start to resolve some of the differences because there's a new way of action. And this is why we tell you that what you are doing here is going to impact the entire universe. It's not just the end of a 26,000-year cycle for you all. It's the end of a universal game. And what's going to be created on the other side as you come to this end of this cycle is a brand new universe. What do you want it to look like? What do you want your little sector, your life, to look like? How do you want to experience it? And there will be some sectors that'll say, no, we want to stick more with the game we had in play. And so they'll continue on that way. And there'll be others that say, oh, we're ready for a brand new game as well. You've stopped creating new karma because the game's changing. All right? Karma implies that you keep playing with the same people over and over, your teammates, if you will. All right? And you play other teams. And you have your little adventures together. But when you play a new game, you pick new teams. And that's what's happening. Karma is not at all how you all envision it. You think karma means punishment, or that you were required to do something because you did something in another life. Source does not require you to do anything. You set that up for yourself. You are never bound to repeat something or do something. You have free will here. So if you decided you just wanted to quit the game and walk away, you could. All right? You are never obliged. But at the soul level, you say, all right, well, it's no big deal. This is a game anyway, so why not go down and, I played the cop the last time, so let's play the robber this go-round. And you look around to your friends, and this is how karma happens. You say, all right, I want to go play the victim. Will someone play my perpetrator? And your friend says, well, all right, I'm probably going to have to, learn about a few things and shift those perspectives if I want to go through the reintegration process. But I'll do it for you. And so they take it on. The people who do some of the most heinous things to you, or that you perceive are the most heinous, are the beings at the highest level who love you the most. Because they agree to do that. It's very hard at the soul level for you to, you ask your friends and they say, oh, that doesn't sound very nice. Do you really want me to treat you poorly? And you say, yes, I want to know what that feels like. And they say, all right, well, I'll do that for you. But you've got to promise the next time around you'll do it for me. All right, so we can trade places. So I can see what it's like. And so you do. That's karma. You're never obliged, but you agree because you love each other. All right? So it's a very long-winded answer with many tangents to your question. Does that help? Does that answer?
If you start thinking that way, that your enemies are your friends, does that release some of their being the character of the domineering one?
Well, yes.
Does that change the game?
Yes, it does, because it changes the dynamic. It changes your perspective. When you see that you co-create events with others, nothing happens to you. You ask that person to do it with you. There's the attraction there. You contracted to create every event, and when you see that, it shifts your perspective. It's impossible to remain angry with someone when you see that you asked them to play that role, that you agreed to co-create that together. It allows you to forgive not only them, also yourselves, which is far harder for you to forgive. You beat yourselves up, and you have a hard time forgiving yourselves for some things that you've done, especially in other lifetimes. And when you see that you co-create that event together, that someone could not play the victim unless you played the perpetrator. All right, so you've got to forgive yourself for those lifetimes that you did some really unattractive things. All right, you allowed someone else to play a victim, and they couldn't have had that experience unless you co-created it with them. So it shifts your perspective. When you start to get into your other lifetimes and you see some rather dastardly deeds being done by you, you all hold judgment. You think, oh, look what I did, how horrible. Or there's still grief there that you haven't cleared from that lifetime, and you get into it. Sometimes you'll activate that grief because you have replayed that very same frequency out in this lifetime. Guilt. Guilt requires punishment. That's how you all set it up. But there's no need. When you shift your perspective, you can let it all go because you see that you all are supporting one another. All right? But you've got to forgive yourselves. We always get a big kick out of it when you all say, oh, I don't want to know I've had any dark lifetimes. I only want to know about the light ones. Well, we'll tell you that the ones that you've had the most excitement in quite often are the darkest ones. Because it's so unlike your natural state of being. Because in the dark ones, those are when you feel the most separate and the most isolated. And those are also the ones that, it's so different from your expanded state of being, which is connected to everything. And so you wanted to see what that role was like. You wanted to explore it in its totality, and so you took it to an extreme. And at the soul level, it's very interesting. It's very, very interesting.
Miss P, are there prisons in the Pleiades?
Prisons?
Yeah.
No.
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 How can that be?
Well, not in our realm, not where we're at in the 9th dimension. Now, when you get into the lower dimensions, there are a wide variety of beings and experiences, a lot of different species. Some of the reptilians that are dealing and interacting with this sector of the galaxy are from the Pleiadian star system. They're not as evolved, but remember, you're thinking in a linear timeline. All right, so you think awareness comes from a future time, but not always. Not always. So there are many different, there are beings in different dimensions and different things going on. But a lot of that we've already worked out, energetically, karmically, if you will. We've already been through those levels of progress. So no, in short, no, not really.
Difficult to hold that frequency that I'm vibrating at with lower frequencies around me in terms of population and people that surround me on a daily basis. Number one, a technique that would be useful to me and to everyone else on how to do that. And the other thing I wanted to ask is, when we bring up fear in other friends and people around us, I'm having a difficult situation in being judged for what I believe in, and I know where that's coming from. That's all right, but how do we shift that in ourselves? And if they're in our field, it's because they want to learn. And is that true?
Yes. A lot of different points to make here.
Yeah,
first, let us say that no one is ever in your presence unless they're ready to be in your presence, to have an experience. So if you're triggering someone, then they've come to you because that's what they needed. All right? Now, yes, question over here.
Hello. It's become really increasingly difficult to hold that frequency that I'm vibrating at with lower frequencies around me in terms of population and people that surround me on a daily basis. Number one, a technique that would be useful to me and to everyone else on how to do that. And the other thing I wanted to ask is, when we bring up fear in other friends and people around us, I'm having a difficult situation in being judged for what I believe in, and I know where that's coming from. That's all right, but how do we shift that in ourselves? And if they're in our field, it's because they want to learn. And is that true?
Yes. A lot of different points to make here.
Yeah,
first, let us say that no one is ever in your presence unless they're ready to be in your presence, to have an experience. So if you're triggering someone, then they've come to you because that's what they needed. All right? Now, your participation and what's getting activated in you during this interaction, all right? Perhaps you're sharing your view on reality and it's triggering all of their fears, the fact that you're going to be invaded by some other species and controlled and manipulated, or whatever the fear is. And you get activated yourself, all right? If you talk about about judgment and feeling judged for your belief system, others are a mirror for you, all right? So if you're feeling judged by others for your belief system, it's because there is a part of you that is still judging it. And they're just there to show you that. When you stop judging your belief system, when you start to trust that what you're getting is accurate, that you know your own truth and that's all right, and it's not going to harm anyone else, that you're not asking to change anyone else, you're just being true to who you are, those people who doubt are no longer going to show up in your vibrational field. They may have questions, but they're not going to say, you know, that you're strange or weird unless you have that fear in your own field. All right? Another example there is that you can have two people who interact with the same person and tell them the exact same story. But because the first person doesn't have that fear in their field, the reaction that they'll get from the other party is, oh, that's interesting. All right? The other person who may share the exact same story, they'll say, you know, have you lost your mind? What is that belief system that you've got operating there? All right? The reaction is different because of the attraction. And they're playing out that drama for you. They are your mirror. All right? So it's all about your own self-judgments. It always comes back to self and how you feel about yourself, what you believe about yourself. And they're just playing that drama out for you, showing you that drama. What was the first part of your question?
The first part of the question is
holding your
yes. Holding frequency.
Holding your own resonance. Yes. The exercise that we gave you at the beginning about grounding into your body, were you present for that one, dear?
I wasn't. But
you want to just envision gold energy going into each and every cell of your body, all right? To infuse your body with the golden soul energy that comes from the edge of the galaxy, all right? Through the center of the galaxy. And as it spreads to your body, that's you infusing your energy into your body. All right? The other exercise we always give, because it incorporates the elements of the earth and it incorporates the chakra colors. You want to start with the color red and breathe in and envision in your mind's eye yourself and see a red tornado swirling around. And you're going to hold that for 3 breaths in and out. And then that tornado is going to change to rain. So you're going to see red rain pouring down over your body for 3 breaths in and out. And then you're going to change that to a red flame purifying your body, 3 breaths in and out. And then you're going to change colors and repeat the cycle. So you're going to move up to orange. So an orange tornado, orange rain, and orange flame. Then on up to yellow. And then green or pink, pink being a universal color connecting you to others. If you are trying to clear your energy and establish your own field, green. Work with green. Then on to blue, indigo, purple, and then you're finishing off with a silvery white light. Silver grounds your body to the planet. All right, it grounds you down to the planet. So you've got silvery white tornado, silvery white rain, silvery white flame. We recommend doing this exercise first thing in the morning when you wake up, because you've been outside of your body and you're not connected to it. You've got to get back into your body. When you get up and you feel groggy and you feel disoriented, it's because you're not grounded in your body. All right? You think it's just the caffeine that you need to get in, but it's your soul that you need to get into your body, not the caffeine.
The more grounded we are, the more energy we get, is that
yes.
what you're saying?
Yes. Yes, you're completing all the circuits. All right? The energy can flow. If it's got to hop over a circuit because you're not in it, it requires more energy. It's not an efficient vehicle. So you've got to get into your body. And, you know, you can also do it when you feel that perhaps, you know, you've been around somebody who's been upset or angry. You can do this quick visualization. And if, you know, it shouldn't take more than, 5 minutes to do, but if you don't feel like you've got that, just do 1 breath on each of the cycles. All right? So it's a pretty quick visualization that you can do. Everything we give you always goes through the creative mind and the visualization, because that is your link to the heart. All right, it's that part of you that it's always there. The intellectual is the filter for the mind, for the third dimension, remember. So the analytical mind helps you to deal with the third dimension. The creative mind allows you to deal with the other dimensions. So everything, when you go through the visual or you visualize things, it connects you with the heart, connects you with that filter. All right, so does that help?
It does, very much.
Very good.
I have a question. What does it mean when, and I've only met 3 people in my life, and none of these people I'm surrounded by any longer, but when someone makes you feel very, very tired, exhausted?
It depends on the individual, all right? And it depends on you. and what's going on. If you're in the presence of someone who has a very high frequency, and that doesn't mean that they are really energetic and screaming and yelling and speaking very loudly. All right? They can be very quiet and hold a very high frequency. That can fatigue you because you are trying to raise your own vibration. What happens more often than that is that you've got people who will take energy. You haven't set up boundaries, and you're giving them your energy. All right? Because they're consuming. It's like, like they're a fire, and they're consuming all of this energy in the room, and they're burning off of it. Whenever you're feeling fatigue like that, what we recommend is that you first check in and see where your boundaries are. Have you set boundaries? Because it's usually an indication that you haven't. And you're not holding your own frequency. If you're holding your own frequency, then you're not going to feel fatigued. So how to recharge your batteries very, very quickly is to find that image of that thing that puts a smile on your face. All right? Because when you get yourself heart-centered and expanded, it's like plugging back into the wall outlet. All right? There's an unlimited supply of source energy for you. And you can recharge your body. All right? Even if you're in the presence of someone who is a very, very high frequency, most of you are going to be able to hold that frequency for quite a bit before you're feeling fatigued. All right? What you'll find is that your fears start to get activated because you're vibrating at a higher rate. And so they get processed out. But more often, we'd say about 95% of the time, it's because you haven't set clear boundaries energetically. And it's a process. It will happen repeatedly until you finally catch on and say, well, look, you can have your drama, and you can be where you are, but this is where I am, and I'm maintaining my field. If you're high energy and you're that's fine. I can still stay in a place of tranquility and serenity and still maintain a high frequency. And you're your own source. I am not your source of energy. All right? Does that make sense? Because you all know someone who's like that. Yes? Or negativity. You've got someone who's really negative. So rather than you dropping down to their frequency, which is going to tire you, you've got to learn to maintain your own frequency. A lot of times, especially with family members, you want to sympathize with them and you drop down. But you don't have to. You can hold your own frequency. You don't have to get caught up in the drama. You can simply say, you know what, I know you're having a difficult time. You might suggest a couple things that they can do for themselves to better themselves, but you don't have to go down to that frequency. You can say, you know what, when you're ready to change your perspective, I'm here for you, but I can't follow you into the drama. I can't go there with you. It's not going to serve either one of us. So when you're ready, I'm here, but I'm staying over here in the higher realms. All right?
I have a question. I don't think anybody in this room is an organized religion, probably. We're all in a different place. But how does organized religion, where does God come into this? Where they say, well, if it's God's plan for you to work out, it puts the decision into God's hands and it's a complete dichotomy between our creating and God creating something for us. How did that happen? Did we develop that on this earth, a religion that says God's plan is this, and we have nothing to do with it?
Yes, your original story of your connection with source energy was manipulated, and you've forgotten a lot of your true history. And there were beings who utilized religion as a control mechanism. And if you want somebody to believe a lie, you've got to sprinkle it with a bit of truth, because otherwise they're going to know it's a bold-faced lie. Yes? So in your organized religions, there is a fair bit of truth, but a lot of it's manipulation, a lot of it is judgmental, and a lot of it is just all about control. But this is where you're changing. Remember, it's duality. So you're finding the middle ground again, and it's not about the male, the divine masculine, or the divine feminine. All right, it's about the integration of both and your vision of both. You had your times where you had a lot of the pagan rituals, and even those were controlling and manipulated. A lot more control and manipulation came in when it swung to the other end. All right. With this solstice, you all had a very large download of information, And you also had now a new template for you all to access the divine masculine. A lot of the divinity that's been projected on this planet for the masculine energy was anything but divine, you know. It was the lower aspects of the male energy. So now, and this isn't about, you know, just the divine feminine. You've got to find the divine masculine as well and blend the two. All right, don't forget that part. But now it's going to be a lot easier for those who are in the masculine vehicle to find divinity within themselves without having to go through the divine feminine and come back. All right, and vice versa. That you have a new option for those of you in the female vehicles to find the divinity within yourself that is masculine energy, that is the polarity of the masculine. And integrating both of those things, it's vital. It's absolutely vital. But it's going to become much, much easier for you now because of this influx and the shift that you had with the solstice. So what you're also remembering is that you don't have to go through another being to connect to Source, because you're already divine Source yourself. So it's all about reconnecting with you. All right? And, you know, there are going to be those who are going to be stuck in the religious ways, and that's fine. This is probably one of the hardest judgments for you all to let go of. As you become expanded, as you know that there's a different way of being, it can create a lot of frustration for you all. You know, why aren't the rest of you waking up? You know, I want to create a better world. What's wrong with you? Let's go. But know that you are creating that. You're just creating a different vibrational version. You know, the one on top of the other, but now they're separating. So this is your version. This is theirs. They can have whatever belief system they want. You're going to hope they find one that's uplifting, that they find one that is inclusive, that is loving and supportive. But if they don't, that's all right. That's their choice as souls, as beings. In the big scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. All right? It's just the game that they're playing. It's the role that they've donned. And when you come to that place of peace, you're going to find that you stop butting heads with people who are religious fanatics, because there's nothing for them to push against. They're not going to judge you for your belief system, that you talk to ETs, that you channel the devil's work. None of that's going to happen, all right, because it's not a vibrational match any longer. So you don't have to struggle with that. You don't have to worry about that. You don't have to bring everybody with you. You all want to bring your family and friends and everybody come on. They'll come on in their own time, when they're ready and in their own way. And if they don't want to go for the ride, that's all right as well. But you can be the living example of how it's done. You can say when you're ready, you know, I've got a way to show you, but I don't have to fix you. There's nothing wrong with them that way. It's just a vibrational choice. And that's a hard one for you all to really get into, to really understand. But as you keep going, it gets easier and easier, because you know you can't change other people. They've got to step into that space for themselves. And the space that they're in is the perfect one for them to be in.
So in that case, then, we shouldn't be paying attention to what's going on, of all that talk about how they're going to, with the healthcare system and all the financial crisis happening and all the greedy Illuminati that's getting all the monies. You know, we just don't pay any attention.
Well, we don't want to say don't pay any attention. Pay attention to how you're getting activated.
Okay.
All right? Is it generating fear in you? And then you can hold your belief, you know, this is not acceptable. And, you know, I want to be free. I don't need to be mandated. I don't need to be regulated in my body. Right. It's not acceptable. So you hold that frequency. Mm-hmm. All right? And then your physical reality also matches that. All right? And when enough of you say enough is enough, then it stops altogether for the mass consciousness. It doesn't take a lot of you to change mass consciousness and the belief in mass consciousness. Mm-hmm.
So that's a good point. I mean, like, we have corporate autocracy that's basically controlling our food supply, that's manipulating the money system, and a lot of us feel very powerless because they've got enormous resources, both legal and money, to basically, it was supposed to be a country of the people, for the people, and it's no longer that. It's a corporate world society. How do we pull our power back? Because that's what's kind of lost.
Well, you start working with your local communities. That's where you're starting. because you're taking the power out of the hierarchy. You're taking your power back to where you are, which is local. All right? So you start investing your time, your energy, your money, your resources in things that you believe in. Whether that means, if you're talking about your food, in community gardens, in planning for your backyard. You've got, if you want to get involved with organizations that are protecting the genetic authenticity, if you will, of your foods, get involved in those. So you're taking action that way, and that is creating a new vibration, a new template, a new organization that takes the power out of the hands of those others because of where your focus is, your own energy goes. With your banks, you're taking the money out of the corporations that you don't align with. You're putting them in banks that want to support your community, that want to support each other. You become your own bank. If you've got money and your friends are in need of money, rather than taking money out for a credit card, you invest in your friend. All right, you loan them at a reasonable rate, what you see is agreeable. So you're still taking action, because action is important, but you're taking action in new ways. But you're all still conditioned to think about money. All right, and how things have to come to you. You still got to work within the system. But the thing is, you're taking your energy out of the system and you're creating new localized systems. That's where the big change is happening. Because right now, if you look at the United States, it would be as if there's a giant pyramid over it. That's the structure. It's hierarchical. And what you're doing is you're saying, well, I'm really not interested in playing in that arena, so I'm taking my toys here from the pyramid and we're going to work in a circle now. So the map is now all these overlying circles, one on top of another. It's your little collectives that you're working in and what you're doing for each other in the community. And that's a new energy, a new way of working to create a new vibrational state, both literally and figuratively. And you're starting to work more and more as your communities to activate your sense of working in a collective. Because as we said, in the higher realms, you are used to working as a collective. Here you're used to working as an individual and you forget your connection to the collective. So you start working it out at the physical level so that when you make the transition energetically, you're more attuned to it, you're far more accustomed to it, and it's not such a shock to your system. And, when you move into the higher realms, you connect with people energetically. You understand how your actions affect them. What gets triggered to them. You feel it. You know it. You experience it. Just in this dimension, you have the illusion of separation, so you shut yourself off so that you think that you don't feel it, but you do still feel it energetically at the subconscious level. So when you can start to see that it's an illusion, that you do have power, you just have to say, I have power because I create my own reality. And these are the things that I want in my reality. And you start creating them in your physical world for yourself, in your organizations, in your groups, and in communities. What happens is that house of cards begins to crumble. That was the old system, and you're already seeing it. All right? You don't have to work in a traditional mean in order to create that end result. You think that the only way to work is through that old structure, through that old medium of having, a single representative. Well, you start coming back to all of the power being localized and with you, and you're changing that structure, and before you know it, you'll look back and you will have changed the entire system. All right? Does that help?
Excuse me, is this ascension process kind of imprinted in the time, and does it relate to our technology, or our technology is advancing?
Technologies are a reflection of you as energetic beings. Everything you do technologically, you have the ability to do internally within you. All right, so again, the external world is a reflection for you. It's showing you all the things that you can do. When you look at your computer, guess what? That's you. That's your physical body. All the things your computers can do, communicating with each other over long distances, guess what? So can you. So Ascension isn't so much about time. Time's not involved in the higher realms. But from your perspective, you've all set it up so that you think there's a cutoff date, so that you've got 2012 ingrained in your mind to get you moving, to get you motivated. So as a collective, you all agreed that you would pick a date. So you did. All right? There is something to be said about moving through the cycles, yes. And there is the end of a cycle. But it's a frame of time. All right? and you just chose a date because in your linear mind, you need a date for that linear mind to grab onto. The rest of you doesn't really need one because you know that you can step in and out of time. It will. All right. Some of you in this room are very good at it. You're time jumpers. You're very proficient at stepping out of time. You don't quite understand it all, but you know that you have the ability to, and you sometimes, go visit other realms and come back. Or you feel that it's very easy for you to manipulate time. You all have the ability to do this, without exception. It's your natural state. So, is there time involved from your linear perspective? Yes, but it's all about frequency ranges, and when you feel that you're ready to get there, you get there and you shift.
So people living in, say, the 1200s may have been going through this ascension process as well, because the future, the present, and the past are interrelated.
Yes, you knew it was coming, so you were working on particular issues. Remember, Earth isn't the birthplace of a lot of new issues. It is a culmination of issues that were taken throughout the galaxy, and you thought you'd play them out in this arena where you knew you had this accelerated time frame. You knew that you were going to be moving through a sector of space which you would find would be of assistance to go through this process. The thing is, when you get to the higher levels, the upper octave of this dimensional range, as you get higher and higher and closer to the fourth dimension, time accelerates because frequencies do not move through time and space at the same rate. So the higher you get in frequency, the faster time seems to move. So in that particular lifetime, not a lot occurred because the overall vibration was lower through the sector of space that you were on in that time frame, as well as the overall vibration of the planet. So that life, you didn't cover a lot of ground. Whereas here, as you are moving higher and higher in frequency, you're going through more and more of your fears, you're clearing more and more issues in a shorter amount of time. All right, so it feels like it's a lot more complex. But yes, that lifetime was still working through part of the ascension process.
Speaking of time, we have 15 minutes so far.
All right, thank you very much. Time flies, yes. When the vibration is higher. You spent most of the afternoon in the fifth dimension, by the way. How did it feel?
Good.
Did it feel that different than your normal reality? No, and that's what you get to expect. It's not all that different. It's a little different how you experience, how you exchange, how you perceive reality, the glimpses of things that you get. But it's not entirely different. And it's not a utopia. Let's put that out there as well. That there is there is an assumption that it's all going to be perfect and it's all going to be light and airy and fabulous, and sometimes it will be. But you still have things that you want to process and clear, and you still have disagreements. We still have disagreements in the ninth dimension. We don't war over them, but we express our opinions, and they're different. All right, and so it will be in the fifth dimension. But hopefully you're not, blowing each other up over it. You will have progressed beyond that to understand that difference isn't required, that exchange isn't required.
So what disagreements are there up there?
About how we want to interact with you, for one.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, don't try this one, try that one.
Yes. Well, the angelic realms have their perspective of how they wanted to work with you. We have ours, which is a little bit different. We felt that you could handle a full blast of truth. They wanted to work through the existing systems. So, even within the higher realms, we still have our disagreements and our different perspectives on how to achieve end results. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's just different. Because it would be boring if we all made the same choice. That would just be dull. And, why would we want to go through that repeatedly? We wouldn't. So, we're all about variation. Yes. Variations on a theme.
So there's a lot of information and different tools that are being sent to us through different sources.
Yes. Each one's going to trigger you in a slightly different way. And that's why it's important to have a variety of choices and voices coming through right now. because one may get through where another may not. And we just want to talk about this very briefly with healing modalities. Is that sometimes a healing modality may be effective, other times it may not. Each healing modality connects with a grid on the planet, and sometimes that will align with a different star system. Healing modalities are brought to you quite frequently through different star systems, and if you are by chance dealing with an aspect of yourself which is in conflict with that star system, you may not desire to have the healing modality come from that star system, because it's going to activate you and trigger you in a way that you're not interested in opening up to. All right, so you may find that another modality is more important or more appropriate.
Speaking of healing modalities, is it true that fluoride in the water can suppress our abilities to have our true healing?
Your memory, yes, it can affect your brain chemistry. But you can also transmute that through your own vibrations. Is it best not to have it in your water to start with? Yes. Is it the end of your life and your livelihood if it's in there? No. You will find a way to transmute it, or you're going to find that you're not drawing it in, you're not drinking it. You're going to find another source of water.
What are some of the newer healing modalities that are going to be coming up, and in particular dealing with people's fears and ascension, helping them through, bridging them through, such as the psychology end of it?
We want to answer that, but we know time is limited, so we want to make sure everybody gets a chance to ask a question here. Let's just say the new healing modalities that are coming in are this is a tricky one, because a lot of you are looking for accreditations, and you are giving yourselves the accreditation. All right, that you're having. There are new modalities coming in specifically with tone, sound, light. It's just all about frequency, and there are blending of modalities as well. You'll pick different bits and pieces from each one. If you're a healer with the person that you're working with, you may start out using a sound modality, but then change to a breath modality. So there'll be a blending that happens. And what was effective yesterday may not be effective tomorrow because of where they're vibrating. Yesterday, perhaps you had a lot of fear going on, and you needed a blanket healing, something that was gentle, that wasn't going to overactivate you, overstimulate you, because you're only going to take on as much as you're ready for. Don't worry about overactivating, because it's never going to happen. Your soul's not going to let that happen, and your guides certainly aren't going to let that happen. So don't worry about that. You never take on more than you can handle. But look to your intuition about what you think is appropriate for you. And that's going to change on a day-to-day, sometimes hour-by-hour basis. Sometimes you need that blanket healing. Sometimes you need something that is a little more laser-like in its precision. Working with a particular crystal to help support that frequency. There's a wide variation. But we're very fond of working with harmonics, with tone and sound, and breath. All right? Anyone who hasn't asked a question who wants to.
I have a question going back to the timeline. You've said in the past, in past sessions, that 2012 is end time, where the frequencies are moving faster right now. But at the same time, you've said that we won't really notice that big of a difference. So how will we, in just 3 years, be at end time where we're not really looking at linear time?
It will happen naturally. It'll feel natural. It's not going to seem all that different. If we told you you've already had hundreds of years worth of lifetimes of growth in the last year, how did that feel? All right, did that really feel all that different than 10 years ago? Your reality 10 years ago? No, you still went through the same kind of processes. And it will be a natural progression for you. Your own abilities and awakenings will happen. And as we said, the fourth is a transitory zone to get you prepared, to get you to understand, for you to practice a little more. It is a different area, and you can tap into these multiple versions of reality when you want. It's not that they're always there glaring at you, all right, but you can check in when you feel like it. You can check in with the other realms when you feel like it. And then as you shift even higher into the fifth, it just gets easier, all right? And some of the rules change a little. You understand that you don't have to have money. You don't have to have an exchange or a barter system. You just create. You need a house, you create one. You project one. And your needs change as a society and as a collective. So it's a little different that way. In the fourth, you may still have the illusion of money. You still may have money as an exchange, but not required. You can still manifest and create something out of thin air. But you may still feel comfortable working that way. So you might, until you get to a point where you say, you know what, this is just tiring. I don't really need to create the money to create the good that I want. Why don't I just create the good that I want? And so you will. You will. You'll go directly to the source and create it yourself because you are source energy.
So after 2012, I guess I'm linear. I'm still thinking linearly, as you always tell me. Looking at the clock, we won't be watching the 24-hour clock anymore. We'll just not need it.
You can if you want.
Okay.
You can create that version of reality for yourself, but no, it's probably not, you're not going to experience time in the same way.
So it goes back to the perception is shifting on which timeline you're on.
Yes. It gets hard and tricky for us to give you some of this information because you don't have the framework yet to hold it. So some of it is experiential. We give you it the best that we can so that you can process it in the third dimension. So, yes, shifting back and forth more through dimensions. You'll find that in the higher realms we tend to go off all the way down timelines, and then we'll say, you know what, I want to go back and play it out differently. So you will. It's not that you go, 10, 15 minutes and then go back. You go half a lifetime and then say, all right, well, let's go rewind that, 20 years and then go forward. Or what you would perceive to be 20 years. It's a little different. But that's the best we can give you because you don't have quite the framework yet.
All right.
You're almost there. You're almost there.
So we'll have like a 300, 400 years of age that we can age.
There's no limit. You're an immortal being. You recharge that vehicle. You recreate your vehicle with every breath that you take. And when you understand that you recreate it because you understand that you're a creator, then there's no need to age. Unless you want to change the look of your body to have a different reaction, but it's not required. I want to know what it's like to have an elderly body. Well, then you can create that for yourself. But there's really no need.
No, I don't want to create that.
It's really not required. But with this particular lifetime, you may, if you've got a particular vehicle, if you see yourself at 40 years of age, then you may continue to see yourself at 40 years of age. If you want to shift back and change your body entirely, you can. You can make it 20 years old again, but is that necessary? No. You can be healthy and vital and, have an instant facelift if that's what you want. It doesn't really matter. And, in the higher realms, it's just such an illusion that you don't even think about it. You don't really think about it. And then when you're done, you don't go through the death cycle. You just remove your energy. What happens when you close the door and leave a room? Is the house still there? Is the room still there? Yes. That's your third dimensional perspective. So it's the same thing. You remove your energy and you walk away and you just go focus elsewhere. You don't go through the death cycle. All right? One or two questions here.
I'd like to ask why so many children are choosing to come in autistic now. Is it to teach us or is it to an experience they want?
Both. Children are coming in plugged in. This other level or shell of the energetic field is already activated. There wasn't enough time to integrate fully into the third dimension and transmute that energy. So they're already plugged into that collective consciousness. Because they are, it is very challenging for them to connect to this physical realm. All right, so sometimes you've got children who can't really ground in the body, are not making that emotional connection because it's too hard, because it's too much. It's emotional overload. They're very, very, very sensitive, not just physically and physical body and what they put in it, how it affects them more dramatically, but also their emotional experience and being around people who are in pain. It's very hard for them. And they have a hard time also understanding, how we can do some of the things that we do or that you do to each other because they're already connected to the collective consciousness and they understand how your actions impact the whole and they feel it. So they have a hard time understanding how you can feel separate because they're already plugged into that switchboard. So they're teaching you. They're holding that frequency in a way for you to connect to that switchboard for yourself. how to connect to that collective consciousness, how to treat your body better, how to treat each other better. So children are here to be your teachers. All right, they're already plugged into all of that because there wasn't enough time for them to come through and transmute, which there was for you.
I have a question. Lately, my energy's been feeling a little wobbly, I guess is the best way to describe it. And I was wondering if I could just get a little bit about what that's about.
Ground into your body if you can. Part of it is an ebb and a flow of your personal energy. You are shifting some of your belief systems, and it's making you feel a bit off balance. You are going through a transition energetically. So just know that everything's fine. But the more you can see your energy grounding, going down to the core of the earth and coming back up and out, that will help you a lot. I'm balanced in my body, and I am centered in my heart. There's the affirmation for you. You all can use that one. That's a nice one for all of you. I am grounded in my body, and I am centered in my heart.
Will our brains actually take on a different, will they function differently?
They'll be more active, yes.
So right now they're split, the duality of left and right so much. Will there be more of a central?
Yes, but it will probably be more creatively dominant. You'll still process things through your mind, but it's not going to be the same kind of intellectual process. It's more that you will process things through your heart, but you'll be able to use the brain and the mind to process physical sensations, things that you're experiencing through the physical vehicle. So it'll be used a little differently than the intellect, the way your intellect is used now.
I have a personal question. I had a visualization of seeing, I thought it was Palladian, and you're saying that Palladians usually are not seen in physical form. So was it Nordic? I don't understand.
Some Pleiadians, yes, they have a Nordic appearance, blonde, also Lyrans. What we're seeing, the energy that you are connecting with is Arcturan. They're Arcturans. There's such a wide variety of species, more than you can even possibly begin to imagine. And it's not just with a particular sector, everybody gets around. So, you've got blondes in the Pleiadian star system, you've got reptilians there, you've got felines there. And the Sirian and Orion systems are incredibly diverse. A lot of insect worlds, a lot of, you've got water worlds, dolphins, whales. You've got a lot of AI, artificial intelligence. You've got draconians. It runs the gamut, the humanoid. It's and everything in between. You've got a lot of Arcturan energy around you. And that's the other thing I want to talk about, star systems, before we wrap it up here, is that you may feel drawn to a particular star system. You may say, I'm from this star system. Well, that's not entirely true. You're from many, many star systems. But that's the one that you're associating with for now, because there's a lesson from that system that you are trying to bring into your consciousness. All right? And each star system has things that they continue to work on and focus on. Pleiades, we tend to guide, we tend to teach, we tend to be overseers. The Sirian and Orion systems, they have a lot of diversity. And how do you integrate diversity? All right, so they work on that in those systems. In the Cassiopean system, it's a very lovely system, a lot of love, a lot of expressions of love. Very gentle system. The Lyrans, they work with dimensional structure, they work with sacred geometry. The Arcturans work with tone and sound. They are the ambassadors who help a lot of the Sirians and Orions work out a lot of their issues because they speak the language of light. So each star system has their own thing that they work on and that they focus on. And when you associate with one, and that will change, you may say, I'm Pleiadian. And then a couple of years later, you're thinking, maybe I'm from Orion. Right? It's because those are the star systems that you're aligning with. All right? And because you don't all just stay in one system. And you have access to all the records of all the different star systems. And remember, it can also be an overlay or an imprint that you're accessing. That you wanted the knowledge and wisdom of that system, so you overlaid it. And it all feels the same to you. Anyone who hasn't asked a question.
So how does the Nibiru system look like? Is that like a cloud? Is that a cloud city? Or cloud system?
No, we wouldn't consider it it's a lot denser. It's a lot denser. It's variation. There's not much left of it, to be honest. Not what it used to be. It's changed a lot. There are beings on it who are still interacting and working with you. There are some that have scattered from the planet and the planet's history. Remember, it's not linear in the other realms. So some of them are manipulating and controlling events who were descendants from that planet. With your Anunnaki, those who you term that, or that we coin that for you. But there are both light and dark as well. Yes, there's an inner struggle within the planet itself, and those who wish to see something that is light, and those who have been playing the dark role. And they've spread out throughout the galaxy. And right now, the planet itself is under a more positive control for right now. But it wasn't always that way. But, you all play the light and dark. And some of those who've been playing the dark have been playing it for a very long time, and they're very tired. Think about playing.
So then why don't they stop?
They'd like to. They're finishing out this role to integrate. All right, but their lifetime, their span is a lot longer than your physical vehicle. So they've been playing it for hundreds and hundreds of years, sometimes thousands. So they're done. They want to get this game integrated. But they're holding that space for you. So when you hear these stories of these other beings or conspiracies that are going on, don't get upset. They're playing the dark role so that you can all see where your fears are. They are generously holding that frequency. When you can see that they are kindly doing that for you, it lets go of the charge. All right?
Could I ask a specific, because I have friends that are interested in the Billy Meyer association with the Pleiadians. Are those the same Pleiadians that this collective is as well? That have actually spoken with him?
No, it's physical beings who incarnate to a planet. We are light beings who incarnate to a star. So it's a different energy, a different perspective. Yes, it's the planet. Oh. It's a planet. Mm-hmm. Yes. So it's different energy. It's a different perspective. They have a different agenda. They have a very different perspective than the one that we have. They're still working from a lower version and interacting with you in a different way because you are their descendants as well. And so remember, you store all of the information about your ancestral line, all your genetic material. And so as you go through these changes, that information gets sent to them, and they can incorporate it into their lifestyle if they wish. Remember, some of them are future versions of you. And that's hard for you all to wrap your mind around. What does that mean? They're a future version. How does that interact with me here? Well, we don't quite have enough time to really go into that. But just know that many of them are here to support. Some of them are playing the dark role as well, the reptilians. So it's a bit of a mixed bag.
Can you tell me about Enrod? He's a being that walks with me when I astral project. And
what do you want to know, dear?
Where does he originate from?
Our perspective of that and his may be very different. Tellurian is where we see a lot of that energy around him in the Syrian star system.
And he doesn't seem to have a physical shape, but wears like a hooded cloak. It's like a navy blue or royal purple with stars on it.
Yes, because if you were to see his physical form, it would probably shock you.
Is that a compliment?
It's just that you're not comfortable with everything. You're not comfortable. It would be too much. A lot of beings don't project themselves in particular fashions because it's too much for you. The angelic realm could, present themselves rather than an angel with wings on it. How you see an angel, they could project themselves as a dragon or as an insect. But you all have these prejudgments, these ideas that if it's any different than the physical form that you're inhabiting, that it's too much for you. So they'll project an image that you're comfortable with. We do that. We tell you Mrs. P because you're comfortable, as opposed to 2,500 beings coming through to you at once.
What quadrant of the universe is Tularia?
It's in the Sirian star system.
He once showed me. We walked out into the universe, and he showed. I remember this almost like a black hole, but the center was like a violet color.
Yes, it's quite beautiful, and that's just the beginning. So use your curiosity and ask him to take you where you want to go. See how that works? Because if you don't ask, you don't always get to go. So you've got to ask. You've got to get in the driver's seat. All right? All right. So we need to wrap it up here. Is there anyone who has not asked a question? All right. So know that we're always with you. You can call on us at any time. You just spent 3 hours in our energy today, so you've got a pretty good idea of what a vibration and a frequency is like. So you don't need an intermediary. You don't need Wendy to channel for you. All you have to do is ask for assistance and listen. And when you listen, it may seem like your imagination at first, but then what's your imagination anyway, so go with it. And we'll do our best to help you in any way that we can. All right? So until then, we'll be watching and waiting and sending many well wishes, dears.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our pleasure, dears.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this with me. As the Pleiadians said, take what resonates with you, and leave the rest. It is a ninth dimensional perspective, and as they say, it is only one of many perspectives. Cheers, Carrie.